Hi everyone, my name's Jen. I'm an author and a book reviewer, and I thought I would start a new reading vlog today. I have been feeling the inkling to go to a bookshop. I don't go to bookshops very much at the moment at all, but I do have a hospital appointment coming up in town, which is not too far away from Foyles, which is one of my favourite places, and I haven't been there for ages. And I'm currently 7 months pregnant, so I don't know when I'm going to get to go there again, quite frankly. Not to be dramatic, I will go into bookshops again in the future, but you know, it's going to be a while, I think. So I thought I would quite like to go to Foyles, pop my mask on, go in, see what they've got on the tables. I browse bookshops very differently to when I'm buying books from bookshops online. I like to find things that maybe I haven't heard of, or maybe I did hear once upon a time and have forgotten about. See what staff are recommending, you know, on the cards that they write on and all of that stuff. However, I went to Foyles 18 months ago. Yes, about 18 months ago, and I filmed a video about that, which I'll link in the description box down below. Your girl wasn't looking very well then, because I wasn't very well at that period in time, but I went to Foyles and I bought myself 5 books. And since then, I've read 2 of those books. I would like to read the other 3 before I go back to Foyles to buy more books. I know I don't have to. I have my whole life ahead of me to read the books that I'm buying, but I thought it would be a good challenge to myself. So before we go to a bookshop in a few weeks' time, we have to read these books first. Okay, so this is going to be a reading vlog. Then we can go to the bookshop and I can buy a few books. And then depending on how much time I have left before this video needs to go live, maybe we'll read one of the books I buy this time too in this vlog. So the 2 books I've already read from the trip to Foyles I took 18 months ago were Lapvona by Ottessa Moshfegh, which I did not enjoy, which was a shame. I went there specifically to pick that one up because it had just come out, and then I wanted to look for other books that I hadn't heard much about at all. But I knew that Lapvona was quite a Marmite book, and I did fall on the side of not enjoying it, which was a shame. I also have read A Touch of Jen by Beth Morgan, which I did enjoy. It wasn't a favourite book, but it was really weird. It was a book of 2 halves and it got quite meta, and if anyone's looking for a book about parasocial relationships, I would recommend this one. It's about a couple who bond over the fact that they're obsessed over this girl on Instagram and they like to mimic her. They want to be her friends / be in a relationship with her. It's a bit messy, but deliberately so, and yeah, I do find myself thinking about it on occasion. So those are the 2 I've already read, but then I still have 3 that I haven't read yet. We have a poetry anthology, which is called More Fire, a new collection of Black British poetry, and it's edited by Kayo Chingonyi, whose work I really, really like. Then I bought a Japanese classic. This is Yukio Mishima's Beautiful Star, and I actually I don't know if you've ever done this before. I think I've done it once before in my life, but I nearly did it again recently, where I saw a different edition of this book where the cover looked so altered and the blurb was slightly different. I nearly bought that book again because it intrigued me, and then I realised, no wait, that's the same as this one, so I'll just read the one that I already have. This was first published in 1962 but has recently been translated into English by Stephen Todd, and this is about a family who find out that they're all from different planets, and this brings them together and it convinces them that they have a mission to find others of their kind and save humanity from the imminent threat of the atomic bomb. So I think this is supposed to be a comedy, but a bit of a twisted comedy. Then we have this historical fiction novel, which is called Nettleblack by Nat Reeve. This is a queer historical fiction novel which is told through journal entries and letters. It says it's a subversive and playful ride through the perils and joys of finding your place in the world, challenging myths about queerness, particularly transness, as a modern phenomenon, while exploring the practicalities of articulating queer perspectives while you're struggling for words. So this one also sounds intriguing. The thing about this though is the font. The font is absolutely tiny, and sadly there is no audiobook. So we'll see if my eyes can cope with the text in this. This is my fault. I should have realised this in the bookshop. There we go. First off, before we go to any bookshop, we're going to read these 3 books. As with any of my reading vlogs, If you are new here and you don't know, I'm going to be talking about the books that I'm reading, but I'm also going to be including B-roll footage of other things I'm up to, maybe some walks, maybe some cooking. But what I would like to do soon, and we'll film a time-lapse here because time-lapses are always satisfying. I want to make my Christmas wrapping paper. I do this every year and I find it just a very, I don't know, heartwarming, happy thing to do. I get some brown paper, I cut out a stamp using a potato because I like to pretend I'm 5, in the shape of, say, Christmas trees or stars. And then I use paint to print on brown paper, and then that's my customized wrapping paper for the holidays. So I'm going to do that soon, and when I do, I will include footage of that here, and then I'll come back to you and talk about some books when I've read something. Pull up a seat, join me, grab a cup of tea, let's go. Hi, I was going to apologise for the lighting, but look, we have a Christmas tree in the background, so I think the lighting is fine. The wrapping paper turned out really nicely, and this is what some of the presents look like under the tree. I just think it's a really lovely touch and I enjoy doing it every year. Anyway, we're here to talk about books, aren't we? And I have started to read Yukio Mishima's Beautiful Star, which is translated from the Japanese by Stephen Dodd. I am really enjoying this book, and I would be amazed if this was not one of the main inspirations for Sayaka Murata's book Earthlings, which was her second novel to be translated into English. I fell in love with her writing when Convenience Store Woman was released. Earthlings is a very different beast because that is about a young girl who's gone through unspeakable sexual assault and then disassociates to the extent that she believes that she's from another planet. And there was lots that I really liked about that book, but it was so graphic that it's just not the kind of book I think I could recommend to anyone. In Beautiful Star, we're following a family of 4 in the 1960s. It's post Second World War, post nuclear bomb. They are worried about nuclear war, and because of this uncertainty and the trauma of the Second World War, they no longer feel like they identify with humanity, and they feel like they have come to the realization that they are from a different planet. In fact, 4 separate planets. Each member of the family feels like they're from a different planet, and they can't get proof of this because they believe that only people from the same planet can see spaceships in the sky together. And because they're from 4 separate planets, each family member believes that they have seen a spaceship in the sky on their own, but they're suspicious of each other's claims that they have done so. So like with Murata's book, it is about disassociation. It is about thinking, why does humanity seem to want to self-destruct? Why is it attacking itself? Why are countries invading each other? Why can't we be at peace? And their answer is, I mustn't be human at all, because otherwise I would understand that. In a way, this book feels very timely, and this family's aim is to try and bring about world peace, even though they think that that is an impossible task. I want to read you some of my favourite lines because I've underlined quite a lot. The daughter, Akiko, believes she is from Venus, and she's on a train. It's really tightly packed. She doesn't like being surrounded by men who are looking at her, and this is her thinking about Venus again as a way to disassociate. In late spring, the time of its greatest eastern elongation, Venus had shone so brightly as an evening star that she noticed it during rush hour, beyond the fields through the window of a Cebu-lined train. She was squashed by the bodies of foul-smelling men and tilted her head away from the rawness of their breath. Unable to move even the bag she was clutching in her hand, she twisted her body but staggered with every lurch of the train. Just when it felt as if her body might break under this clamour of unyielding, insensitive, rude human flesh, Akiko's serene, pale face floated above the dingy shoulders like a lily flower, and she gazed towards Venus beyond the fields through the window. As the carriage swayed, so did Venus. The stars seemed to pursue them on their speeding train, a twinkle of indestructible purity suspended in that late spring sky in the evening. And then this bit made me giggle. It's when the father, who is called Ichiro, is marvelling at how capitalism seems to be a way to placate the masses and make them forget about how terrible the world is. So he's in a department store. He was so taken by the rich variety of products on display from around the world that he ended up staying until closing time. The range of goods was fascinating. Dazzling gold boxes of raisins, plumped up sweaters, flowery embroidered panties, train sets equipped with stations, tunnels and railway bridges, beautiful nappy covers. They were all masterpieces of human civilization in their ability to replenish the human heart with life's charms. Each object perfectly suited to its usage and restricted specifically to nothing more than that purpose, provided the confused and half-crazed customers with fine-tuned ways to improve the minutiae of their lives. The essential nature of things never faltered. Brooms were brooms, and shoes were shoes, and they formed a gigantic structure of cords that bound human beings tightly into human life. So long as I'm here, I'm safe, thought Chichiro. Just for a moment, human insanity is healed. That's the purpose of department stores. They are like hospitals. I really love that. So yeah, I'm enjoying myself with this. I am going to have to crack on with work. It is early in the morning. I don't know if the sun is ever going to make an appearance, quite frankly, but I'm going to work, obviously, and then I will check in with you and we can chat about this more this evening because I'm hoping to finish this book tonight. And while I get on with work, I will insert some footage here of yesterday when I decided late last night to make mince pies. So here is footage of that, and I will see you in a minute. Hello, it is the end of the day. I'm now lit by the light of the Christmas tree and I have finished reading Beautiful Star. by Yukio Mishima. And I have actually another book by him on my shelf. Let me go grab it because it's down here in the living room. Can you still hear me? Why am I still talking as I'm walking away from the camera? Okay, hi. I have the vintage Japanese classics books. I'll do a cutaway so you can see them in all their glory, but this is another one of his called The Sailor Who Fell from Grace with the Sea, which I haven't read before, and so this is back on my radar now. The blurb sounds really intriguing. It says a band of savage 13-year-old boys reject the adult world as illusory, hypocritical and sentimental, and train themselves in a brutal callousness they call objectivity. So it kind of sounds a bit like Lord of the Flies-esque, and also I can definitely see this fitting in with the themes of Beautiful Star as well. Anyway, I actually didn't end up loving Beautiful Star in the end as much as I'd hoped. There was a point during the reading process where I thought this could be one of my favourite books of the year. If I was going to do book maths with it, I would say it's like Earthlings by Sayaka Murata plus the Midwich Cuckoos by John Wyndham. There's lots of comparisons that you can make between Beautiful Star and the Midwich Cuckoos actually, because both of them were written just after the Second World War, and both are science fiction talking about alien life forms as a way to explore invasion and lack of humanity and worries about nuclear war, Third World War, etc. And I accidentally read them quite close together because I read the Midwich Cuckoos in November, so I thought that that was particularly interesting, and I think I would recommend reading these as a pair if you would like to. I always find it fascinating when books can have these incidental conversations with each other. But yes, I did say I didn't end up loving this one as much as I thought I might from the beginning, because we're following a Kiko's family who, as I said, believe they're all from different planets, and they would quite like to get back to their home planets, but they also want to bring about world peace. And then we're introduced to a second group of characters who also believe that they are from other planets, but the way to save humanity from itself is to destroy it. So that is what they would like to do. And then the book turns into this whole philosophical debate about, you know, right and wrong, morality, humanity, and I just didn't love that quite as much. Even though I didn't love the way the book ended so much, I did still highlight passages that I thought were beautifully written, and this is an extract where we're introduced to one of the bad guys. He had been a pale child, full of himself and argumentative. At school, his nickname had been Brussels Sprout. His mother once dreamed that countless stars sprang from his head. He stubbornly believed he was incompetent, but everyone regarded him as a malicious genius. In his mind, he would soar as he gazed at the night sky, fantasizing about the day he would change into a star. Every star struck him as a frozen, sparkling brain. Is that not just, quite frankly, amazing? So, yes, there are bits like that that I loved. Sadly, not a favourite overall, but so glad that I read it. I thought it was brilliant. And then, as I said, the other book of his that I have on my TBR is now much more on my radar. As you can see, the lighting in this room is not very good right now because it is dark outside, because it is December, and I would like to briefly have a chat with you about the sponsor of today's video, which is Serious Readers. As you know, I've been working with them for over 2 years now, and I've been working with them this year throughout the autumn, winter months. So thank you very much to them for sponsoring these videos and supporting the channel. And thank you to you for listening to me talk about them. So Serious Readers is a UK-based company who make reading lights, and this is one of them behind me. This is one of their high definition lights, which is a floor light. You can get them corded or wireless. Mine is corded, but it's still easy to move around the house. And they invented something called daylight wavelength technology, which mimics daylight as closely as possible, which is brilliant all year round. But in December, when we are having the shortest days of the year, I nearly said the shortest months of the year, that's not what I mean, the shortest days of the year, this is particularly handy. So I will actually turn it on in a cutaway because I think if I turn it on here, it's going to be too bright for the camera. But I use this every single day. This allows me to read more comfortably for longer because, as I said, the light in it mimics daylight as closely as possible. These lights are so brilliant, the light and the technology that they have created, that they are used in spaceships and in submarines, which I think should speak for itself as to how good they are. I will leave a link in the description box down below if you would like to go and check them out. And serious readers have offered me a code to give to you if you would like to purchase one of their high definition lights. This gets you money off. So the code is SR406 and that gets you £100 off one of their high definition lights and also includes free UK delivery as well. If you've ever been curious about them, because I have spoken about them a lot over these years and you haven't checked them out yet, go and give them a look. They're a wonderful company, they make brilliant products and they're just a joy to work with. So thank you very much to them for sponsoring this video and to you for listening to me chat about them. I am going to cook some dinner, I think, because it is the evening now, and I will come back to you when I have read some of Moshfegh, which is the poetry anthology, which I think I am going to head to next. Hi, so I have read Moshfegh, a new collection of Black British poetry edited by Kayo, who's the author of Kumakanda. There were actually only a handful of poets in here whose work I hadn't come across before. However, the work that's published in here, I was going to say, isn't mostly cross-posted. That's not what I mean. Reissued, like republished from collections that I'd already read. There were some poems that I had read before in individual pamphlets or collections, but mostly this was work that was new to me. So yeah, we've got Jason Allen Payson in here, whose book Thinking with Trees I really love, Raymond Antrobus, who you know I absolutely adore, Rachel Long, we've got Dean Atta, Gboyega is in here, Gboyega Odubanjo, who died earlier this year, which was really, really awful, and I'd forgotten that his work was in here, and it reminded me that I needed to buy his most recent pamphlet, which I think is called Anti-Uncle Poems, so I've placed an order for that. But let me tell you which poems in here I particularly loved. I hadn't come across Jeanette Liachi before, and I underlined the beginning of their poem The Lovers because I really enjoyed it. He wakes and grunts incalculable words, staring like a sleeping giant in a cartoon forest. I fall asleep with my arms slung over his chest. It lifts up hard and high with each inhale and latches down to the mattress with each exhale. His lungs are heavy, asthmatic, bulky, bullied as a child. I am hugging a wounded reindeer. I love that line, I am hugging a wounded reindeer. Another one of my favourites was one by Rachel Long, where the narrator is talking about stealing her dad's credit card and buying things on eBay that she wants, because she knows when his credit card statement comes through, because it's always the same time as her period. So she remembers to hang out by the letterbox and catch it so that he doesn't see it and yell at her. But sometimes she forgets. I've got a bone to pick with you, he says. The same thing each time, like it's the same bone. Meek, mere, like the one in the ear or the one in your little toe that won't heal if you jam it into a wall and break it. Nothing much anyone can do. I just really liked, I think, the teenage voice in that poem. I thought it was excellent. And Gboyega's poem Man, which I'd never read before, which was written after Nicole Seeley, whose book The Ferguson Report, an erasure poem I read earlier this year, is in here. And I hadn't read this poem before, and it has the repetition of the word man hidden within so many words inside this poem. Man's adamant about semantics. Buildings roman, not a romance. The repetition is so good, and I was so glad/sad to be reminded of him and his work, so I'm really looking forward to reading Anti-Uncle Poems when that arrives. I will leave you with these lines from a Jason Allen Payson poem. I catch a song and 5 others escape. A noun cannot hold the sound of birds. If you are not familiar with the poets who I have just mentioned, then I would very much recommend checking out this anthology and then going ahead and reading full-length collections by the poets whose work you gel with most. As I've said a million times, that is the great thing about anthologies, discovering new voices and then, you know, choosing which path to wander down next. So I'm very pleased to have read this book, and I will come back to you when I have read some more. We know what this means, don't we? It means it's time to make banana bread. It is actually a couple of weeks since I filmed the last clip, and two downers, but one with a positive outcome. So the downer that doesn't have a positive outcome, but hopefully will in the future, is that I started reading Nettleblack by Nat Reeve, but the text is just too small for me. As I said, I have very scratchy corneas, so I find it difficult to read small text. I should have realised that before purchasing it. Maybe one day in the future I'll pick up the ebook when I get an e-reader and can enlarge the text, or, you know, I can get a magnifying glass or something like that. But at the moment, this one is going to have to be put on hold. The other downer, and not something that I really want to dwell on, but a couple of weekends ago I got PGP, which if you've had it, you know is no fun. Essentially my pelvic bone went out of alignment, which is about as pleasant as that sounds, and there have been many tears, and it was very difficult to walk. I do not need medical advice, I am covered, and I have been doing what I can do to help rectify that and make it better. But I did think we were going to have to not go to Foyles, which in the grand scheme of things is not a huge deal, but I've been really looking forward to it, and I thought, well, I can't get there. However, it's been several weeks and it has been getting better, and I'm no longer wanting to cry when I walk, which is great. So I have been resting, and then I have been doing stretches, and I've been doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, and have spoken to my doctor and all of that, so do not worry. But yeah, I think, touch wood, touch this table, I think that I can make the trip to Foyles. It's actually probably a good thing for me to try and do, because I've been doing incrementally more these past few days, and I can get the bus to the tube, and then I'll be sitting down on the tube, and then Foyles is right next to the tube station. I'm gonna go on a weekday morning when I'm hoping it's going to be really quiet, and I'm not sure what books I'm in the mood for or on the lookout for. I did think I might have a look at the John Wyndham section, because I recently read the Midwich Cuckoos and really loved it, but I do also still have Chucky on my TBR, but I kind of want to look at the beginning of, is it the Kraken Wakes? And I can't remember the name of the other one that I don't own, but I might take a look at those. But really I want to look at the staff recommendation sections and see if there's anything that I haven't really heard of before, or I don't know, let's just see. So my plan is to go tomorrow morning and take it just really slow and really easy, and the next clip will be you coming along with me to do that. So fingers crossed, let's give it a go. I did it and it was fine. It was fine. I just went very, very slowly and took my time. And it was really quite empty in there as well, which is really nice because I didn't know if it would be. It is a weekday and as I said, I went in the morning, but still, you know, it's December. You never know how busy it's going to be. I completely forgot to look at the John Wyndham books, which maybe is for the best because I already have a John Wyndham on my TBR. So I should read that first. So maybe my subconscious was blocking me, in which case, thank you, brain. But I did find 2 books. I bought 2 books and I think we should read one of them in this video. Definitely one of them. So one of them I'd never heard of before. One of them I vaguely remember hearing about it coming out and thinking, I have been meaning to read that author for so long, I really should do that. And now it's out in paperback. So both of them are actually short story collections. So the one that I had never heard of is this one here called Bad Dolls, 4 Dark Tales by Rachel Harrison. Friendship, heartbreak, hauntings, and the occasional blood sacrifice. So this was in their highlight section and the other one was in their highlighted translated fiction section. So this says, in the stunning collection of horror short stories, award-winning author Rachel Harrison explores themes of body image, female friendship, heartbreak and hauntings with her trademark humour and insight. An indecisive young woman finds a mysterious magic 8-ball that might just have the answers she's been looking for or might lead her down a path of destruction. A bridesmaid attends her childhood best friend's bachelorette weekend only to discover the itinerary may demand more than she's willing to sacrifice. An unusually brutal dieting app wreaks havoc on the life of a timid, insecure woman preparing to attend her ex's wedding, and after the death of her younger sister, a wayward young woman comes into possession of a strange porcelain doll that could offer a connection to her lost sister, but could also just be pure evil. So I think that one sounds great, and this one is only 180 pages. And then the other one is by Samanta Schweblin, who, as I said, I've been meaning to read for years and years and years, ever since Fever Dream came out. Was that her first one? Is that the one that's got the horse on the cover? Yeah, and then she had Mouthful of Birds and then Little Eyes, which sounded a little bit Black Mirror-y, but this is her newest one and it's called 7 Empty Houses. It says, the latest the latest chilling collection from the winner of the National Book Award for Translated Literature. The world of Samanta Schweblin's short stories is dark and destabilizing. Here, home is not a place of safety, but the site of hidden danger. Silent menace, unspoken resentment, picture-perfect doors and spotless windows conceal lives in disarray, slowly unraveling in the face of obsession and fear, jealousy and desire. Unsettling, exhilarating and fiercely original, these prize-winning stories expose raw and uncomfortable truths about the people and places we think will keep us safe and ask us what happens when that promise proves empty. I love the covers of these two. These are great. So I did think about buying a thriller book for my TBR because I'd like to do a trying to find a new favourite thriller video at some point soon, possibly. But I remembered I'd not had a good hit rate with purchasing crime or thriller books in bookshops without researching them extensively first because I'm quite picky when it comes to that. So I decided not to. I just stuck with those 2 and I think that's enough to be getting on with, to be honest, because we know that I have books on my shelves as well. Let's not kid ourselves. I also saw this at Tottenham Court Road, which has changed so much. So I went to the flagship Foyles store, which is on Charing Cross Road, right next to Tottenham Court Road station, and they've been developing that area for years and years and years. They still are actually, but there's a cinema there now and I think a new theatre that I walked past and it just looked very different. And then there was this light installation which really reminded me of when Mr. M and I went to Planet Lab when we were in Japan, which was one of the most beautiful things that I've ever been to. But yes, this was this installation that had been put in outside Tottenham Court Road as well, which was quite pretty. Anyway, so a successful trip and I am not in too much pain. So win-win-win all round. I'm not sure which of the 2 I should read. Maybe I'll take a look at the first page of both and then decide, but I'll come back to you once I have read something and we can talk about it. So I will see you soon. Hi, I decided to go for Bad Dolls in the end. So this is an author that I have never come across before, and this is a very short book, a collection of 4 stories. And they have that fairy tale-like feel to them in that they're told in quite a simple, matter-of-fact kind of way, which I do enjoy. However, on occasion that can leave me feeling wanting if other things, such as the plot or the resolution of the stories, isn't my favourite. And I did feel with this book that I wanted it to be pushed a little bit further. So we've got 4 separate stories, each about a woman who is trying to discover herself in some way or go through some kind of transition. One of the stories is about a woman whose sister recently died. One is about someone who's going to a bachelorette party and doesn't really know how to fit in with her childhood's best friend's new friends. One is about a woman who is very indecisive and finds a magic 8-ball, and she hopes that that will help her make decisions and move forward with her life. And another is about a woman who is going to the wedding of an ex-boyfriend and she's feeling very self-conscious about it. I think the thing that left me wanting more from this book is that the stories felt perhaps a little bit too similar. The protagonists in each one could have been the same person, and there was a repeated motif of this magical animated creature coming into the narrator's life to try and help her fix things. So the voice of the 8-ball, there is a goblin app, so a real life goblin that comes out of another character's phone. There is a doll that comes to life and starts talking to a third narrator. Only one of the stories doesn't have that element, so I started to feel as though this became a little bit predictable. I think a really good indicator for me is how much I've underlined in a book, like how many passages made me stop and think, I want to come back to this moment and relive it. I didn't underline anything in this book. So this was an okay read for me, not something that I will probably come back to, but I'm glad that I read it, and I would say I would recommend this to people who are new to the short story horror genre, especially stories that explore horror within womanhood. Trigger warnings in here for eating disorders though. So yes, I decided to read that one. I still have the Samanta Schweblin, which I will read at some point in the future. But that brings us to the end of this video. I think my favourite that I read in this video was Beautiful Star by Yukio Mishima, and I am looking forward to reading more of his work in the future. As I said, I have one book by his on my shelf. A shame that I couldn't read Nettleblack, but alas, very pleased that I got around to reading more Fiya. Thrilled that we got to go to Foyles, because I don't think I'll be back for the foreseeable. We can have a trip together in the future some other time. Glad that I've still got 7 Empty Houses to read, and I'm pleased that I picked up one of the books that I bought in Foyles, Bad Dolls, as well. If this is the first video of mine you're seeing, or one of the first, and you're not subscribed yet, I would love you to subscribe. And if you enjoy my content and you would like to consider supporting me on Patreon, that'd be very kind. Patreon is a place where you can tip creators whose work you enjoy, and the support I receive over there allows me to keep creating free content for you all on here, and also funds my time making it accessible by creating captions and all of that good stuff. At the moment over on Patreon, I'm doing Vlogmas. That's an extra video every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. That's $2 or £2 for the whole month of December. There are 10 Vlogmas videos because it was running from the beginning of December up until Christmas. So if you fancy some extra content, that is there if you like it. Thank you very much to Serious Readers for sponsoring this video. You can check them out. Link again is in the description box down below. And I know that next Sunday is Christmas Eve, but there will be a video on Christmas Eve. So I will see you for another video then. Bye.